Alright, back to the tornado, and we are starting our cockpit assembly, getting all this on. We got a few other small parts to do, and then after that I'm going to do a little bit of weathering. I just looked at the other tornado that I had, and you really cannot see much of the cockpit, just the panels right here, which I can do once everything is on. So just going to start going in once I find my glue right here, and then I'm just going to slowly start building this up. there has to go. How are we going to work this? Alright, I gotta take a break from this. This is getting frustrating. Trying to get this nose landing gear to fit with the main cockpit. This is meant for this kit, right? And nowhere in the instructions does it tell you what you need to take care of. I understand sometimes you have to remove and take care of some parts from sanding to get this to fit, but I mean, this is getting to the point where it's ridiculous on how much I'm having to sand off, and the fact that I had to get the cockpit in to the fuselage before I could even do the test fit. On the instructions, if they said remove 2 millimeters of this portion right here, no biggie. You get that done before you even start painting, and it's one headache less that you have to deal with afterwards. So I mean, trying to get this end to fit, I'm going to have to trim down here and trim down more up here, and I'm already getting paper thin, or starting to get thin on the top side of this, and I'm going to be getting thin on this here very shortly as well. So I'm gonna take a little breather so I don't start throwing stuff across the room, and then I'll get back to that here in a little bit. Alright, time for a little update on the Tornado build, and we got the cockpit put into the fuselage right here. The fit on it was pretty good. No real issues with that. And then the front instrument combing right here, got the seam line sanded down and then repainted on that. Now for the HUD glass, I kind of made a mistake, but it kind of worked out in a positive way, because I put liquid mask on both sides of the HUD glass when or the reflector right in here, and when I went to attach this piece right here, I didn't realize that I wouldn't be able to get to the bottom side of it. So what happened was I was able to remove the top side, but the bottom side was still on there. But here's the happy accident right here. The liquid mask was green, and it has a little bit of a black tint to it because of the primer. So on it, it does kind of have that green look to it, like a reflector would have. So ended up being a mistake, but a happy accident mistake that ended up working out. So I got that piece on. That is good to go. Also, another mistake I made was I had the fuselage half together, and I didn't put the radar wall in first when I put the fuselage halves in. So what I had to do was I had to come in and cut along the seam line here to kind of open it up so I could pry it open and get this in, because I thought I was going to be able to get it in afterwards, but I was wrong. So ended up getting that fixed. I'm not worried about painting it or anything, because I'm going to have the nose cone over it. Now next thing is the nose landing gear well. Nose landing gear well is done. Earlier in the video I kind of made a gripe about how much I had to sand down and all the test fit issues that I was having, and then when I got it fit, and it fits with the cockpit in absolutely perfectly. But when I did that, when I was removing parts, I removed too much of the plastic here, so there were large gaps, and you could see like the walls to the nose gear well. So what I did was I went in with some plastic card and filled that in, got that done. This side is nice and ready. This side I had a little bit of putty to put on to get a little hole filled that from the plastic card. But that's done. That's waiting to dry. After that's done drying, I'm going to sand that down so it's nice and flush like this side. The other thing about this kit was it did require 60 grams of weight, which is about 2.5 ounces of weight. So what I use for my weight are tire lead weights. They come with a nice sticky adhesive to the back side. So you know with this, if these can make it through rain, snow, sleet, anything, slush on the road, and still stick to your tires, you know that they're going to stick inside of your plastic model for a very long time, and you don't have to worry about your model becoming a baby rattle later on. So I use these. I actually used a few more ounces than what is required, because I'm going to be having the resin, exhaust, and all that stuff, that extra weight on the back. So I wanted to add a little bit of extra weight to the front to prevent it from becoming a tail sitter. The other thing I added to the bottom of this was the upgraded intake right in here from the Facebook page. I can't remember what the name of it is right now. I'll look that up in a little bit. But again, this is just a lot better than the kit part going on, and it looks a lot better, just being straightforward with that. So what I got to do next is I'm waiting for this to dry. It should be relatively close to dry. So I'm going to get that sanded down and flush, and then after that we're going to get this attached into the bottom of the fuselage, and I'll do a quick test fit for you. And as you can see, it is a perfect fit on that. Not really going to have to worry about any seam lines, because the seam lines actually go, well, we might have a couple of seam lines to take care of, but again, this is just a rough test fit, so when I go to fit it in, I'm going to make sure it's absolutely perfect going along. But again, it's really looking good going forward. So up next, for the next update, I'm going to have this piece in, and then we're going to start adding in like the gun and all the other pieces. We got a front piece to go on here. Then also I'm going to add in the HUD. I was waiting to get the seam line taken care of here before I added in the HUD, and I think we have another piece to add right in here as well. Then after that, the ejection seats and the front section is done after we get some intake and all that stuff done, and we are ready to move on to the rest of the fuselage. Alright, so I'm gonna be back once this bottom section is all done and attached, and we can start moving forward. So I'll see you in 1 second. Alright, time for an update with the Tornado, and we got the front section almost all the way done. Gonna have a little bit of putty to add right along the nose fit area. Couldn't get it to fit absolutely perfect, but that little gap right there, I'm going to put some perfect putty in there, wipe that down real quick, and that will be a quick 2-minute job right there to get done, if even 2 minutes to get that done. So that part's done, and then we flip it over to the underside, and I got the plastic card corrections or fits done and sanded down for the landing gear area, and that is on me because I took off too much of the kit to try to get that to fit when I was trying to test fit everything when it wasn't even glued down correctly. So got that done, and then I'm gonna have a little bit of putty and sanding to go on right in here. So other than that, the nose section is done, and then I left the guns out, the cannons out. I'm gonna paint those separately, and then those will go in at the very end of the build as well. So we got the intake, the inside of the intakes to do right here. I'm not gluing in those yet. I'm gonna paint, get all the fuselage or the intake stuff done, and then paint that together, and then once that's done, I can glue that stuff in. So that's the front section is done. I'll glue in the ejection seats a little bit later after I'm done, and also the HUD after I'm done turning this all around and getting everything done, because I don't want to take the chance of breaking that off. So up next, what we have is the aft section. We have the main landing gear. So I got the bottom fuselage section cut out. I do have some sanding to do of the nubs, but I will be using the Aries landing gear set. So like in the nose, again, the detail on this landing gear is just 100 times better than what is included in the kit. As you can see, it does have some water in it right now because I just got done sanding off the casting blocks here, and they're just got done washing off all the dust from it. So as you can see, we got a lot of detail in there, and then we still have a few other parts to attach to it. And then also for the main landing gear, I am using the main landing gear from 3D Shoot Expert right here, and you can find this guy on Facebook if you type in 3D Shoot Expert on your search bar, and he has a bunch of other landing gear. But as you can see here, the detail on this, hopefully the camera will zoom up a little bit, there we go. You can see all the cabling and hosing that's put into this all the way through. And it's the same thing with the nose landing gear as well. I don't remember if I showed you the nose landing gear earlier, but here's the nose landing gear as well. And I got this cut and ready to shape in. You can see all the detail in there, and the light and the cabling and everything that goes along with the nose landing gear. So this is going to look absolutely amazing when it's all done. When I was doing my test fit with the Aries, the piece that goes from here to the bottom of the or the top of the landing gear well did break off. I do have it. I am going to paint that separately and then attach that into the landing gear well, and then attach this in, just so I don't break it off again and again and again. So that's where we're standing at that. So with the main landing gear, all right, so I did a little bit of test fitting last night, and it does go in right along here like so, and it's a nice good fit. But the one problem with this is, alright, I cannot attach this after the I can't attach this and then paint it and then attach this into the fuselage and then paint that separately. So what I'm gonna have to do, I'm thinking, is I'm going to cut right along here, so that way I can paint the landing gear separately and then attach it at the end of the build. And I'm thinking I'm going to use the Bob Smith Industries 2-part epoxy. That way it's an extra strong hold on that, and then also I can paint the landing gear separately, leave that off so I don't have to worry about anything going on, any appendages going on the fuselage while I'm trying to paint everything, and then just messing it up and having a nightmare of a mask job with trying to mask off this landing gear. So I'm just gonna cut off right along here, and I'm gonna do it one at a time so I don't get it confused. I'm gonna just, after that's cut off, I'll go in, I'll glue this in like so, and then we can get everything else added to this. As you can see with the Aries landing gear well, main landing gear well, we do have a few parts to add, like this piece and then a couple other pieces along the bottom side right here. So we're gonna get all those cut, and also the main landing gear door as well. We have a light to add in to it as well. So it's a lot to go, but it's going to be extremely detailed. It's going to look very nice when it's all done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get off camera here. I am going to saw this off. I'm going to go one side at a time, get that glued in, and then move on to the other one, and then we'll start adding in all the extra detail parts onto the fuse or onto the main landing gear. And then after that's done, I'm going to be doing test fits to make sure that this fits correctly, like so. Looking good so far. I'm going to have to trim down these lines right here. These lines for the kit part were for a bulkhead that goes up, and it's also the leading bulkhead for the nose landing gear. So I don't need, or not the nose landing gear, the main landing gear. So I don't need that anymore. So I can go ahead and sand that off, and that will take care of any fit issues that I'm going to have in the future. So I'm going to get off camera. I'll be back when I have all the landing gear painted, or the main landing gear wells assembled and painted, so that way you can see how good it looks when it's all said and done. So I'll be back in 1 second. Alright, we're back with a little update for the Tornado. So I got the main landing gear wells painted and detailed, some of the detail and cabling painted as well on both of these right here. As you can see, a decent paint job on them. And then we have the bottom side of the fuselage, and it's gonna look kind of like this. Let me get this in here like so when it's in the fuselage. So you're going to be able to see a decent amount, even though there's going to be landing gear and gear doors and all that in the way, but you're still going to be able to see a little bit of this main gear well. So I did do a little bit more detailing on there. I still do need to weather it. I think I'm going to weather it after everything, like when I'm doing the weathering for the rest of the aircraft as well. So on top of that, what I got done was, we already went over the nose section, all that, but I found online on eBay some intake covers from Tradewind. I can't remember his name or his username right now, but I ordered those last night, so they should be in the next week or two from Great Britain. So I went ahead, and I'm not going to be worried about the interior of the intakes, so I went ahead and attached these parts right here. I did paint the fuselage color, the desert pink from MRP, on the inside of here and alongside the fuselage, so that way when I am painting everything, I don't really have to worry about it, the paint getting up in there and painting, make sure that, because I already have paint in there. So that's all done. Up next, like I said, we're going to get the intake trunks done. We're going to get these landing gear, main landing gear wells attached to the fuselage, and then also we got to get the fuselage or the intake parts into here, and then we got some more parts to add to the back side of the lower fuselage. So still have a long way to go, but it's starting to get there. So I'll be back once I get these main landing gear wells attached and the intakes attached as well. Alright, so I'll be back in 1 second. Alright, we're back, and I think it is time to end part one. Number one, it is Thursday, and number two, as I'm building, I can feel and see my hunger shakes coming because it is about lunchtime for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap everything up. We're going to give another update on where we are with the Tornado, and then after that we'll do what's coming up for part two on next week. So first off, we got the cockpit and nose section all done and assembled right here. I just have a few pitot tubes to add on, and then also the HUD to go on as well, but I'm going to wait until the very end to get that on because I don't want to knock it off or do anything like that. So we got that all on, and I got these two pieces on because I do have some intake covers coming in. They should be in a few days, so I'm not going to have to worry about painting or weathering the intakes at all. So I went ahead and got that done. I made sure I painted the fuselage color, which is the desert pink for Desert Storm, and then so that way when I'm actually painting everything, I don't have to worry about getting up into that nook and cranny right in there. So we got all that done, and then we got the nose landing gear well done, and got that all painted up. And then I had to do a little plastic card on the sides because when I was trying to get this to fit, I cut a little bit too much of the actual plastic off, and so I had to get that fixed, and I just used some plastic card to get that, and it looks okay right now, and I'm sure when I get paint on it, it feels nice and smooth on the transition. Now I do have a little bit of a ridge or a little bump right here that I'm going to have to take care of, but it shouldn't be too difficult to take care of, and it is a very small area right there. Then again, now that I've zoomed in the camera, I'll show you how everything's looking up there on that. So that's looking pretty good as well, and we'll get the ejection seats in, and I'll show you how that's going to look with the ejection seats. I still have some weathering to do on the ejection seats and some other stuff, but that's how that's going to look right there when that's all in. So those are looking pretty good right now as well. So that's all done. The nose section is all done. Then we also got the bottom rear end of the fuselage taken care of. Got the intakes in, and the rubber gaskets for the wings. Also put in the replacement parts for these vents going on using the Jet Passion scale models right here. As you can see, this is the Panavia GR1 IDS ECR early set, and you can get this at the Facebook page and also the email listed right here. So I'll give you a second to take that down. As you see, if this isn't enough time, you can pause it and write that down. Alright, so we got that all on. That was a pretty much perfect fit. Just had to saw out an area, and then I have some super glue down here to sand down from where I got it to meet with the fuselage. And then on the other side, we have this one right here. This one was pretty easy, and also it was a perfect fit for getting a fuselage half. As you can see here, we use the Ares main landing gear well, and that is just 100 times better than what is provided in the kit. So as you can see, that side and then this side right here. And again, once I'm done painting and weathering, and I'm going to do the main gear weathering and the nose gear weathering while I'm doing the weathering for the rest of the aircraft, so I make sure that it all blends in together. We just have a little bit of a seam right here and a little bit along the back side to sand down. That might be on me, I don't know. Once I put aftermarket into a kit, I really stopped blaming the fit of the kit, because you have to do all types of modifications to it to get this stuff to fit. So it's really not on the kit after I put aftermarket on it. So that's all done, and then we move into the armament, or the loadout. We got the JP 233s here. These are going to be going on the belly. These are going to look really nice on the underside of this when it is all done and painted. These were used to take out the runways at the very beginning of Desert Storm, or as the British called it, Operation Gransby, I think. I'll have to double check that. I knew it was something like that, or Gatsby. But yeah, these are going to look very nice. I got 2 of those. We got the fuel tanks, also from Jet Passion, right there. These were also another perfect fit on that. Didn't have any issues with any of that. So these are going to look also very nice on the wings of the fuselage. Then using the Edward ECM pods, we got the BOS and then the also ECM pod right here. Those are going to go on. Have a little bit of putty to go on to both these pieces right here, because I sanded off a little bit too much when I was taking care of that. And then lastly, we got the sidewinders that are going to go onto the pylons as well. Got the fins and everything. Those will be painted separately. And that's it for what we all got done for part 1 over the past week of this build. Let me get everything put away. So coming up next week, oh, almost forgot, the main landing gear and nose landing gear from 3D Shoot Expert. As you can see, this stuff, absolutely amazing detail on here. As you can see, the brake lines and hydraulic lines are already molded into it, and all that detail on there. When it's all painted and weathered, that's going to look really, really nice and really take the model to the next level just with that alone. And as you can see with the nose landing gear right here, hopefully the focus right there. Alright, and again, you can see all the brake and cable line or hydraulic lines going through there. The main light, get that painted with some chrome and then put some UV clear resin in there. That's really going to look good as well. So that's where that is standing for the landing gear as well. And then moving on to next week. So we got a few things to go on. We have the elevators slash horizontal stabilizers going on. That shouldn't take very long. And then after that, we have a part that is probably going to take a little while because I'm going to get it all painted and weathered, but we are not going to attach it to the model until the very end of the whole build. And that is the engines. And what I have for the engines are the res kit exhausts right here. And as you can see, there's just so much detail going on to these right in here. So we're going to get started on that right there as soon as the horizontal stabilizers and elevators are on, which that part won't take long, but the engines will. And then also, if we have time next week, we'll probably start, let's see, that's more engine parts. Might start some of this stuff, like getting the reverse thrusters on. Those are going to be painted separately as well and not attached until the very end of the build. So we'll get those cut off and ready to go. And then we'll start with the wings. The wings, I'm hoping to have those at least assembled and possibly put in to the lower fuselage. I am going to leave them sweepable for now, so that way I can get that line of the gray in the sweep area right there. But I'm going to leave the flaps off until the very end of the build. After I get done painting, I'm going to paint them separately. So this is my my method of attack for this build right now. So hopefully by the end of part 2 we are at least to the wings of this. We'll have to see. Don't hold me to it, because sometimes parts of the build take a little bit longer than expected, as I am finding out with the Catalina build, which is taking me a lot longer than expected. But that's where we're standing with the Tornado. And hopefully we'll be starting to really see some progress on this, and it will start to look like a Tornado here very, very soon. But other than that, I want to thank you guys for watching and sticking along, and I hope to see you for part 2 of this. If you haven't yet, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and comment down below, especially if you've built this before. And then also hit the bell button so you get notifications of when I release part 2 and my other videos. But until next time, have a great day, stay frosty, and happy modeling.